Hello, my friends. Happy Friday. I'm so excited to be here today. I am so grateful for these opportunities to spend a little bit of time talking with you. And, it is just really life coming together. And so I was been thinking so much like beyond just like the filming, right? Because I'm still in the stage where I'm filming, but I have yet to release my content yet. And I think for me, again, it goes back to like really small goals, right? So like I'm not trying to do everything all at once, because sometimes I know that there's like mistakes are fine. And I know within this process, I'm going to make mistakes, and I'm going to, try things one way, and then I'm going to try them another way. I started thinking last night, and I got like super excited that like, I was like fell asleep so pumped, and then I woke up like 2 hours before my alarm clock, just like with my brain running and just excited about like where this can go and where I see myself in the future, and just the impact and the lives I touch. Like I was literally almost in tears this morning, like thinking about it. Like, yes, like I was thinking about it like that movie, The Field of Dreams. Like if you build it, they will come. And, I'm one of those people who, again, like in this stage of my life, I am being vulnerable, right? I am sitting here and I'm giving you guys a front row seat. Like I knew nothing about content creation. I knew nothing. I still don't know a whole lot. So I'm not saying I know. Like I knew nothing about filming. Again, I've bought a microphone, don't know how to set it up. Like one of my goals this weekend is like, I'm like, can I hire you, Chris, is doing some tech support? Like at some point I need to delegate some things, because there's so many things and projects that I want to work on, and so many things like I am so excited about. Again, just having the name, like I am seeing things all around, and it's like idea. And I'm like trying to write them into my notes so I don't forget. And that inspiration and that magic that's popping in, because now like all this energy is going to where I'm focusing. And it's like, oh my gosh, I don't have my chair locked. So I'm like, whoa, we are rolling back here. Okay. So I'm going to be bumping and grinding here. So these sounds of my chair, again, like these are things that I get are going to be maybe annoying as they come through. Again, my idea here, especially in the beginning, is like, this is the unedited, the raw footage, the not polished and pretty and to music and tunes. Like this is normal. This is me deciding, like, at that girl, when I don't have the picture here in front of me, but me deciding, I wish I did. So, so I could be like, here it is. This is me saying, I'm 300 pounds, and I'm sitting here saying something needs to change. So like, this is the equivalent of that experience again. Like this is the equivalent of saying, I have chosen for so many years to ignore and suppress and not pursue my own endeavors, my own dreams, my own desires, because I didn't even allow myself like enough to dream that big. Like everything was like so far away, 20 years down the road. Yeah, sure, of course I'd love to travel. Like it was very very broad, very general, but there was no action like followed up with a dream, right? And so, how is this ever going to happen? Is somebody going to just knock on my door and say, hey, I hear you want to travel the world. Here's your plane ticket. Here's your itinerary. Oh, here are all the recommendations for where you should eat and the hotels. Oh, they're all booked for you. Like, no, that's not going to happen. I mean, I'd love it if somebody wants to do that for me. Absolutely. I will accept your gift and your kindness. Thank you so much. But no, that's not going to happen. Most likely. Maybe I can, put it out in the universe, and, I could be like, hey guys, I was wrong. It came to me or whatever. But I had to start taking action. Right. And so again, just like I was telling you with my friend, I call her my friend now, but, the lady Claudia at the gym who, and ironically also with the piano, like all these artistries, like all these women that are defining themselves, that are evolving and changing. This wasn't like their kindergarten dream and then something they went to college for, or knew this was always this secret dream that was inside. And I think a lot of us have this misconception that that's how it all works. But in life, it's about having different experiences, and these experiences change us, right? Simone, she was a pianist and then got injured, and you have to adapt and flow. My son was a soccer player and still is. He's just temporarily on hiatus, and he ebbed and flowed, and now he's still a soccer player. It's just virtually, and it's different. And instead of taking like those setbacks and situations, it's about how you reframe it. How do you redesign your life despite what happens around you? And maybe you're not on the path you thought you would be on, or you perhaps wanted to be on, but you're exactly on the path now that like you just couldn't see in that mode. And I just think it's so cool. And so I say all that to say, like, for me, I really want this to be just like my journey. My journey, I didn't depend on Ozempic, which I am not a hater to however your process is to get you there. I understand how challenging it is as a 300-pound woman. And I don't know. And for you, it might be 160 pounds. And for you, it could be 500 pounds. Like, I'm not judging or saying my weight loss was greater than yours, or that's not a problem to have. Your body, your choice, your thing. And again, if you choose to do gastric bypass, lap band, Ozempic, Weight Watchers, all the many Noom, whatever the different methods, that doesn't matter at all. It's what works for you and your body. What worked for me in my body is what's worked for me. And this is, it also goes with my super cheap. So I'm frugal. I didn't want to spend all this money on a program. And then for me personally, I didn't want to feel like culty, like I have to go in and weigh myself. And, it took an extra layer of work that I just wasn't ready to commit to. I do not like depending on anybody nor anything really, because like, what if it goes out of business, or, what if it comes out that this, medication is really bad for you? And, the whole point, the whole objective for me was to get healthy. The whole objective for me was to be able to play with my grandkids. If all of a sudden I'm skinny, but I'm not healthy, that's not doing it either. Like, I am not healthy, right? And I'm not saying that that's the situation with anybody. Again, I did not research it. I know some people that have done gastric bypass and that it has been very successful. And I also know some people who did it and they were one of the few ones that it failed. And so, no judgment. I understand, like, there's so many different available resources. And if you can and you need to, please depend on those, utilize those resources. I have no judgment whatsoever. But for me and my thing, it was just, I wanted to do something that I could be any place in this world and I can do it. I could, the business could, the business model could go out of business, and I'm not like, oh no, what do I do? We don't have Weight Watchers anymore, or Jenny Craig, or whatever, Noom, or whatever these programs are. And then I'm at a loss, and I'm not going to lie. Like, it was so hard. It was so hard, every day to get into the habit and just keep reminding myself, like, at one point in my life, I heard it was like 8 days for a habit to be born, like doing something 8 times and then that creates a habit. That seems way too low for me. I've heard numbers like 21 and 30. And again, we're all so unique. So maybe there's some person that 8 days is perfect and enough. But, perhaps there's like slower learners and slower to adapt. And those take us 30 or 60 days versus this. So for me, it was also, there was also a point where it's like, I knew how hard it was. And so I don't have jealousy per se, because again, I am so grateful whoever gets there, like, I don't have the judgment, but I get extremely curious about their process. I get extremely curious when I see, women who, at different, that have been vulnerable because they are on national TV or they're musicians or whatever. And I get fascinated, hearing about the weight loss. But I know there's such a stigma, especially with many of us who have kind of yo-yoed. So you've seen them lose weight and gain weight, and it's a personal journey. Like, if you don't want to share that part of you, I am being open, but that is my choice. Nobody is forcing me. It's not like I'm in this limelight and by nature of what I do, it's just out there. No, like, I am choosing to share because I really would like to empower, motivate, inspire, whatever. And I've been told so many times, like, that I'm already doing this. And so I just want to believe them. Like, I'm not lying to anybody. And so I believe that what these people are telling me is the truth. And if I could reach like some people in my small gym community, then I could reach others, and maybe like something I say or something I've done will connect and see, like, when you look at me, it's like looking at you in the mirror. Like, it is that we are one and the same, because I didn't do anything. Like, again, like, because I didn't do a lot of self-care, like, to think about spending all this money on a program, it just didn't feel right to me. I wasn't at a place where I was like, I didn't have that disposable income. And even if I did, it wasn't going to be spent on me, like to lose weight and to have to eat this, like, a specific food plan and have to count things out. I was like, just count me out at that point. I just don't, I like to eat. I don't want to have this now be this like chore and this unhealthy experience that I'm resenting the thing, even though I now look better and I feel better because I'm probably feeling healthier. But to sit there and have to like, I don't have time in the day to calculate how many points I got going on. Like, I just, we're taking the fun out of the food, and I'd rather have the fun in the food. So that didn't work for me. And again, I heard this story about Kanye West's mom, and that was like a very traumatic experience for me. Like, I was like, listen, he's got a whole heck of a lot more money than I do. So I'm going to assume, and he loves his mama. So I'm going to assume she had the best health, like, care possible. And she ended up dying. And now I don't know the ins and outs and whatever, anything like that. All I do know is she was a healthy woman going into that surgery, got some form of plastic surgery or whatever. I don't even recall what it was, but it was some kind of an elective surgery, and then passed away. And so I was like, no, I'm like, that again, check no, that scared me. I'm like, I don't need to do all that. And then again, like I said, I have a friend who did all the things right, did all the counseling, did all the individual weight loss in order to have gastric bypass, just for it to fail. And now when we go to the restaurant, it's like she can only eat small amounts because that's all her stomach can handle, yet she's still unhappy with the way she looks. And, like, that's tough too. I'm like, that wasn't working for me. And so again, I took it slow. And I didn't know. I did leave on the table, like, in the back of my mind. I'm not, like, my aunt had always taught me about this plan A, have a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C. I just recently had heard from one of my books, like, don't have a plan B because you're just admitting failure. And so these two conflicting philosophies have been kind of swirling in my mind. So it wasn't like I necessarily had a plan B, but I was realistic that I was like, if we give this a try and it doesn't work and you still want to reach your goals, it's okay to reach out for resources. Like, it's okay to adapt and change and pivot and seek support. Like, that's okay. We'll try another method. And, again, I'm a researcher. So, I figured out what a lot of the things that were done on Noom. I did a lot of reading. And this is where one of my personal powerhouses is. I don't really depend on one source, but I do take all of the stories that come together, because I do believe we all come into our lives, like, for moments, and maybe it's 15 minutes that I'm spending in, our paths have crossed and we spend this time together randomly, we, are in a line or something like that. But I take that as like, these are gifts. These are little nuggets, and they kind of, they're little seeds, and sometimes I don't know why they're there. They're sometimes just in my brain or in my soul or in my body. And then eventually, like, it will come together. And so, I use the stories I hear, whether it be people directly I know or people like Kanye West's mom who I don't know, but I've heard of the story. So now it's like, you're in my circle. You're in my view here. And I'm going to utilize that information and see like how it works for me. So I take that. I did a lot of reading. It happened to be when my son, my uncle had started like really advocating for, I had said here, fasting, but his was more in a longer term fasting and very high on a ketogenic diet. And this was like, even before the ketogenic diet like became this thing that like everybody hears about now, like, oh, keto friendly, like in the grocery stores. But he was an advocate for it because, again, he was a big researcher like this. He was a big reader. He was a big, a watcher of YouTubers. And he had, again, heard about this. And even when my son began having seizures, he was like, I've done a ton of research on this. Like, the ketogenic diet is very helpful for many people that are experiencing this. And so the fasting, like the way he was describing it was just way too aggressive. It was like, listen, I'm eating about 7 times a day. You mean to tell me I'm not going to eat for 7 days? Like, no. Like, nobody wants to live with me like that. Like, no, like, I don't want to live like that. Like, will I be able to live? Like, I might die, like, or somebody else around me might die. Like, they will maybe want to die because, I'm going to be sitting here starving. Oh my gosh, I hope I don't sneeze. I feel like I suddenly have to sneeze. Like, true. But, I took that information. Again, I started reading, okay, what is this ketogenic diet? And then I read about the diet and I was like, listen, I need some of these fruits and veggies and carbs. Like, I need some of these other things that it's not gonna work for me. Again, kudos and props to everybody who does these things and they work and they love it and it works. You got to find what works for you. That's why we are all so unique. And that's why there's a plethora of unique options out there, or you can hybrid and combine and do these things. So again, I say all this to say, like, this was my journey, my weight loss journey. And this here is the next step in like my sharing of my weight loss journey, my pursuing my dreams. And so I want to be unfiltered, unadulterated. Like, I just want to be real because I feel like that is the best way to connect with you, is because you are real. You are average. You may not have Buddha and Believe over here on your windowsill, working out of a thing this big in a room that's about 10 times the size. We're not working with a whole lot of area here, but I'm doing what I can with what I have. I've got my Apple phone here. I've got my light from Amazon. I don't even know if it's connected the right way. Like, I'm trying to figure this out myself, just as you would try to figure it out yourself. If there's something you want to share, if there's content you want to create and share with this world. And I want you to see like the good, the bad, the ugly, and then the incredible, because that's the journey. Is like, the good is having that idea, right? The good is like having it swirl around your mind and you're like, tomorrow I'll film, but I don't know the name. Okay, well, I'll film when I figure out the name. Oh, but it's a Tuesday. I can't film on Tuesday. I have to start filming on Mondays. So, we keep delaying it. We have these excuses and these fears and these worries. And even though I've just filmed and I haven't published it yet, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to tell you, there's been days that I'm like, hold on, like, do I really want to do this? Do I really want to expose myself and my family into like a world that sometimes people are unkind? Like, am I willing to take that one unkind person to the 10 really amazing people? Am I okay? Am I strong enough to handle that? And, these have to be serious questions, because this isn't like an impulsive thing. It's just like with my diet. Like, and it wasn't even a diet, my lifestyle change. Like, will I be able to do this? It's it's questioning. It's not like just having this blind faith, like, yeah, everything's going to work out and, you know, it's going to be great and you're going to go viral and it's going to blow up and then you can work in a space double this size. And listen, I know that that's a possibility and I know I will get there. If I have the same determination to get from 300 pounds to this, then there is nothing that can stop me. And it is my true belief. It is my true belief that anything you put your mind to, you can achieve. Anything that you put small micro effort into on a consistent daily basis, or even more if you can, or less if you have to, but anything that you're consistently dreaming about, thinking about, planning, focusing on, taking action for, it will work. Will I go from 300 pounds one day to the next day, all of a sudden, I don't know what I weigh. Let's just say 160, 150. I don't know. I'm just guessing. I'm not even a clue. I don't want to know. Don't send me your guesses, please. But like, I don't know and I don't care. It doesn't change any of it. Like beyond, like, again, me having this mental thing. And I think I am stable enough to handle it, but I just am not willing to take that risk, because if it's 50-50, right? It's either going to be lower than I think and I'll be like pleasantly surprised, or if it was higher, I might feel like, I thought it was, you know, like whatever my brain had thought it was. So what's the point? I mean, I'm healthy, I'm super active, and I'm feeling better than I've ever felt in my life, like combined on a personal, like physical and health way. Like, yeah. So I say all that to say, my focus here, my energy here is really about being raw and unfiltered. And I know that that means I have crazy, sweaty workout hair. And I know that means I'm going to be wearing the same tank top, but a different color on each day, because that's my uniform and that's what gets me going. But I think that anybody who who minds doesn't matter. And those that do matter will not mind. And I think on the contrary, I think being honest and vulnerable and showing where I've started and where I will end up being will actually give you motivation and inspiration. So I say that all to say, so I've been on here many times and I've shared my super fandom of this patisserie, Simone's Patisserie, and is it Patisserie by Simone? Okay, I always have to like figure out which one. It's Patisserie by Simone, and so it's in Livermore. So again, I'll reiterate the story really quick. So lovely young lady, she has young kids, great husband. I didn't know I knew him, but I knew him well. He probably not for long because their business is booming, but he hopefully forever, as at least until the end of our injury here. But then I can always still see him there. But I ended up knowing because he works the same place as my son goes to PT, which I go to twice a week with him. On occasion I don't go in, but 98% of the time I'm in there. So we get to know each other. You spend an hour in there twice a week, 2 hours a week. That's more time than I spend on a lot of people. So obviously they're working. They're not just sitting here chatting with me, but I'm a chatty person. So I get to asking questions and things like that. So anyways, I have this vested interest in it because her cakes are amazing, right? And that's where I started, was with my love of cakes. And then it's now, moved on to, I tried today the Queen Amon. Okay, does not look like, it's spelled with like a K-O-U-I-G-N, something like that, A-M-A-A-N. I don't know, delicious, divine. The croissants, with the pain de chocolat and, croissants and the danishes, like everything I've had, the pistachio croissant, everything delicious, right? The almond croissant, I have not tried yet. That's going to be on the next one. And so I was like, okay, I'll take my son to school. I'll go head down there. I'll pick up stuff. So last week when I went, I was at the door. This week I went and I was around, like out the door and around down the thing. And I felt so happy. I was like, good for them. Like one of like the things is like, we all have fears, right? And so here she is. And, again, like I've said before, so many times I've been with people at the end of their life and they regret not pursuing their dreams, not starting that business, not, taking more vacations, not taking that trip they always wanted to do. Like a life filled with regrets. And because they had this idea of what was important to them, that was brainwashed into them, that being a good employee and doing all these things like that you have to do, causing all these like crazy feelings and responsibilities and stuff like that, instead of like living the life that they get to live and experience the things they want to do. So anyways, I say all this to say, here she is, like, and this is one of the things I adore about her, beyond her impeccable French pastries. Like, those are great. That's like a cherry on top. But when I saw the line, I like felt so happy, because here it is, a lady who decided one day this is what she wanted to do. And a lot of us decide that, but then we let life get in the way. We're too busy. It's too expensive. I don't know where to start. Like, we have 1,000,001 excuses, right? But here she was. She was one of those few of us that actually go out there and they say, I'm doing it, right? So I feel this connection because it's just like my weight loss journey. It's like everything you see on TV, right? You have this, like the Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. Like, she is doing it. And is it perfect? No, because why? She's a wonderful baker. She hasn't ever opened a business before, right? She, maybe like a small one, at home, or, as a piano teacher, like things like that. Very different than a large storefront, right? Navigating that, preparing it, also creating the menu, making everything, being a mom, being a wife, like clean, like everything you do. But she's having the courage to do it. And not only that, she has had the courage to say, I need help. Like, there are expenses on here I did not anticipate. And so I get if you can't share, like, I'm not asked, like, but if you can and you want to, I'm creating a GoFundMe for myself. Like, that is courageous. Like, to me, that is courageous. And, to put yourself out there and say, I need help. Like, so many of us don't. And so, of course, I'm like, yeah, here this is so little to me in the scheme of life, but yet you're buying into somebody's dream. I don't want anything from it except for really good pastries that I'm going to go pay for. But like, there's just something remarkable about seeing dreams come true, right? Like, it's like that moment when you're at Disneyland and the music comes on and Tinkerbell is flying in the sky and you hear Walt's voice and you're just like, it's true. And here it is. And so, you're standing in line and there's like a lot of buzz and excitement and, somebody walks up, have you guys tried it before? Like, what's good? And, I was like, for me personally, I don't get my heart set on anything because I don't know if it's still going to be there or if it's been out yet. So whatever's there, everything I've had is good. And, I will take whatever is available. And so, we're talking, then the other lady, this is what I say, I got to try the almond croissant. She was like, oh, it's out of this world. It's so good. She's like, you have to like almonds. I'm like, oh, I like almonds. So, I didn't have it today, but I did get the Queen Amman and a little lesson in how to say it at the register. And I had been wanting to try that one. So that was super excited. I even got an extra one to share with somebody. So like, again, here it is I'm standing in line and then this gentleman in front of me, he just starts talking to me. And he's there because, he lives in Fremont, but his sister-in-law lives there and they're like pet sitting her animal because she's out of town. And he wants to get something sweet for his wife and he's retired. And he ends up talking about like everything from the state of the country to, his opinion on social media and, about how he was an engineer. And so, he like tries to re-engineer some foods and the cost of everything. And then, people will come to want to help him at his house and he'll say, like contractors or whatever. And he, they'll say, oh, it's this much. He's like, why is it so expensive? And they're like, oh, supply chain issues. He's like, what do you mean supply chain issues? Like, this is made in the United States. What are we talking about here? And they're like, I don't know. So it's just like, you know, it was talking about like corporate greed, how, you know, they're saying, you know, we're keeping the prices high so we can keep our, I can't think of the word, the investors happy, and, you know, whatever it is. So again, these conversations like ebbed and flowed as we stood in the line. And, you know, he talked about his trips to El Salvador, and he talked about like his wife's favorite burrito spot and how he now creates them at home for a fraction of this cost. And, you know, it was just an interesting conversation. Then he ended up talking about Spain. I said, I'm going to Spain. And then he showed me pictures and said, here's Madrid, here, go here, and here's Barcelona. And, you know, like, it's just an interesting conversation. Our paths temporarily crossed as we stood in line for this, supporting a small business. And again, like, I sat there and I was super happy. Like, I got my goodies, I got my treats, I was able to get a couple to share and some to enjoy. And then before I left to the gym, I happened to just check Facebook, right? And I see in there, like, she had put a post and it was like cute. Like, her daughter was at the door and it was like, you know, cause now her hours are like 9 to sold out. So it's, you know, not, you know, somebody isn't coming at 2. Like, I thought you were open. So that's why there's like the mad rush in the morning, right? Everybody wants to get something before it's sold out. So, she had wrote in there, like, you know, about how, a gentleman had decided to send her a message and complain about the line out the door, and her pastries were good, but, you know, they're terrible at business and it shouldn't be this way and blah, 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 blah. And it just really, it hurt. It hurt my heart, because I even saw her last week and she was like, you know, while I was there, and, you know, she came and said hi, you know, as I stood there waiting, and I said, are you even sleeping? She's like, I slept 30. I'm like, when are you sleeping? I've seen you post at 5 a.m. and 11 p.m. So where is the sleeping happening? She's like, I slept for 30 minutes on the floor. 30 minutes on the floor, right? First off, our bodies are not primed to do this, but she is putting everything she's got into this and more. And at the same time, she's trying to hire more staff, train the staff. Like, she's doing her best, right? Like, she is being honest. Like, this is triple the volume than I had ever dreamed of. And, you know, and I get it. Like, we all have our criticisms, but like, or judgments or whatever, like, but take a step back and look. And if you have like any kind of complaint, like, let's not criticize, like, suggest something to help. Like, be like, can I help? Take order. Like, what can I do to help? Like, don't just point out the problem, be part of the solution. You know, you just telling me I'm not going to support your business if the lines are long. I mean, okay, that's unfortunate. And I want to, you know, satisfy my customers just as you want me to satisfy. Like, nobody wants it more than I do. So like, I get that. And so, you know, I felt like it really sat with me, and I was just like, I felt like my heart was like broken, you know. And she's super vulnerable. She's super honest. Like, we are doing everything we can. I am so tired. Like, I'm trying to train staff, like, you know, almost like be very defensive, but then also was like so appreciative. She was like, you know, I'm not asking anybody to stand in line, you know, like I wouldn't, you know, but I appreciate that so many people are willing to stand in line to enjoy my pastries. Like, that means so much to me, but like, I wouldn't, you know, do it. And, you know, I say all that to say, like, I just felt like, a piece of it broke me. And that I did love her. Again, what appeals is the vulnerability, the honest that, hey, yeah, things are not going exactly as planned. Obviously, lines out the door, good problem to have. But obviously, she would probably want to be producing more so that everybody in the line, because at some point you stand in that line and you get to the front and everything is gone, right? There is nothing left. And, you know, there's not like you could just magically create more, you know, there's only one of her at this point. You can't just keep cloning her or anything. And, you know, I know they're trying their absolute best and beyond that. So, it upset me, and I was driving, and again, the two quotes that I've referenced here, I ended up like, I drove, I did my dance class because I was like, I really wanted to say something. And then when I got home, I sat in the driveway for a good 15 minutes. And of course, it has to be like long-winded and everything. And I was just like, you guys are incredible. I was like, again, those that mind don't matter, and those that matter don't mind. And I shared my experience in line. Like, everybody around was excited. Everybody around was very kind and sharing of information of what to try. And, I had this opportunity to meet a gentleman. I don't even know his name, but, he talked about his life, and in some way he educated and informed me. He taught me about this Indian pan that helps crisp up tortilla things. And I was like, shoot, that sounds good. I learned he was from Fiji Islands, and, all interesting thing, just interesting. He shared with me tips on Spain and, and El Salvador, and how someday, it's getting safer. It's getting more tourist friendly. It's still not there yet, but he was very cheap. He was, so I learned about the pasta in Italy having a hole in the spaghetti, and it just, just interesting things that I wouldn't have ever known today, because I took this time to enjoy being in this moment and, making a temporary friend. And again, what is one of my favorite things to do is to talk to people. So why not utilize this opportunity to learn and be educated on information I wasn't aware of. So, I say all that to say, of course I said that to her, and I said that about the Field of Dreams thing. And, here's the thing is, I love honesty, and it doesn't have to always be pretty. And so that's what this is. This is not perfect and polished and pretty. And, as I do more research, it's saying, the things they're saying that I'm reading, here's a certain time that you should be doing. Here's the, here's the, the editing tools and all the things. And eventually maybe that'll come. I don't see myself personally doing that. Like, I would love to be in an opportunity that I hire on some, college kid or something like that, and say, you all grew up with this stuff. Like, I am not trying to recreate anything technology wise. Like, this is not my powerhouse. It could be if I wanted to get into it. I just have zero interest in it. Like, I just want it to work. I just want to talk to you. I want to get that out there. And I want to be authentic and genuine. And so I want people to be able to go back and see my first videos, and then see my 500th video and say, dang, that was a lot. That was a transformation, right? Like, and along the way, I want to enjoy every single filming. I want to enjoy every part of this, on the good days, the bad days, the challenging days, the rushed days, the days when I'm exhausted. And so, but I also want to learn, just like with my weight loss. And so I really connect it back to this. There were things I changed. It wasn't like this was what I did from day one, and I knew this was how it was going to be. It was a slow evolution. So I keep thinking to myself, okay, I'm gonna try and be a little more concise and get my videos down to 30 minutes. And so that's the new goal. I'm like, okay, today I had so much to say and I really want to talk. So maybe I'll go to 45, and, because I've been trying to hit this hour target because I have so much I want to share with everybody, and I'm trying to get it out there. But I do understand that an hour, that's more than an average, 60-minute sitcom show. Because after you take out the commercials and everything, I was like, I don't know what people's attention span is. I know even for me, when I listen to some of the ones I want, I'm like, okay, that's good. I've heard enough of this voice. I get it. I got to the point. I heard it. Next, or whatever it is. I get that. Unless I'm listening to an audiobook, I'm in it for, I look and I'm like, okay, 6 hours, but we're at 1.85 speed. I'm not sure how my voice will sound at 1.85 speed. It's a huge, accomplishment to even be able to hear my own voice, right? Because so many years, I remember when we had answering machines, and then you would hear it in the house when you're like, oh, I'm not answering the phone right now. If it was caller ID, you're like, I don't want to hear. But then you would hear yourself on the answering machine. It's like, hi, and I was like, I don't want to hear my own voice on the answering machine. And now I'm like here, doing this, and I can, I haven't rewatched any of these, but I can go back and like I was saying, my interviews for the, or application interview, whatever things, I can go back and watch it. I'm not cringing anymore, like that's progress. That's huge. I'm like, okay, let's go, but, I say all that to say, like, I think that spreading kindness, and I have no problem with constructive criticism. I don't like complaining. I don't like doing it myself. I have done it, right? And I probably will do it again. But it just seems so much more effective. Like, if you have a critique, also help and be a part of the solution. Or if you don't, like, give some advice and say, I don't know the answer either. Like, I'm not a line engineer, but perhaps use this, like perhaps, there's a mobile ordering, or perhaps, and she'll get there. This was opening. This is her third weekend, second Friday open. Like, I have no doubt that she will get there and figure it out and use things that, like, within the industry that are available to her to streamline the process. But I mean, there's plenty of bakeries and restaurants and amusement parks and things that we all stand in line for. If it's something we want, there is the thing called supply and demand. I mean, we were all in line for, I know I was, for one, personally, like at Costco, in line, I want to say 2 or 3 hours in order to get into the Costco during the pandemic, right? Like I was there, hooded up, masked up, gloved up, sunglasses, because the COVID could get through the eyes, out drama, right? So if I'm willing to do that because I want some TP and some meat and some milk, like fruit, then I think that if you want something, you can stand in line for it. And yeah, of course, like my time is valuable. I think about it in one way, and I was like, okay, from the time I dropped off my son to the time I came back home, like went down there, I did drop off my ballot into the voting box, because I thought, I'm not gonna be that girl like walking in right at 9 o'clock. Like I also know them. I'm like, that's just a little too stalker, like I'm already leaving Yelp reviews and reviews on her Facebook. Like, listen, there comes a point when I'm like, I'm borderline stalking now. Okay. Like I give them some space. I can come in about 9:15. But when I got there, like I said, it was like 9:08, 9:15. It was down the thing. And I was like, but good for her. Like, this is a good problem. And it wasn't because they were, slow behind the register and they didn't know what they were doing. Like, no, it just was. And so that, like, I had to, after reading that, I'm like, I get to stand in this line. Like, I am so grateful that she had the courage to do what so many of us don't. She is pursuing her dreams. And that is not a perfect process, but she's going to make it perfect, right? Like, I was pursuing my dream of losing weight and becoming healthy. Actually, that was the main thing, of course, right? Like the funny, humorous one was that, like, hey, I want my butt to be bigger than my stomach. Like, this was my literal actual goal. One of them, I would like laugh. I'm like, here's the goal. Like, I want my belly to be smaller than my butt. And if I could just put all my belly into my butt, like be a huge butt, like bigger than the Kardashians, but yeah, like, give people some grace. Like, really, like, again, like I say, like, there's nothing. I was laughing actually today, speaking of butts, in that story. I go into the gym, right? And there's a lady, and she's like looking in the mirror. She had something on her bottom. It wasn't this, but she just had finished working out, and she's looking in the mirror at her bottom, right? And I was like, yep, it's work. And she had done the workout before or something, because I seen her walk out, so she was kind of sweating and things like that. I'm like, yep, it's working. It's working for you. And she started laughing so hard in there. She was like, no, I have something on my butt. I'm like, no, I know you're it's okay. You can check yourself out. And she was like, no. And then we were laughing. I'm like, no, I'm totally kidding. I know you weren't. You had some white stuff on there. She's like, yeah, I don't know what it is. And then I was laughing, and I was like, yeah, no. And I told her the story, how, one of my first goals, like standing in the mirror, like, okay, here's this way. I'm like, not so bad, right? And then you do the turn and you're like, okay, yeah, well, this still was bad. But I mean, it was, I was like, oh, okay. And then I turned to the side, and I was like, oh my gosh, the butt was flat and the belly was out, and then like hung like an apron. I don't know what was going on with that either. but it was what it was. It is still what it is, and still not like, I'm not. The waist is good. I'll take that. I love my waist and I'm proud of that. I work really hard there. Again, I'm not a master at that whole engaging the lower abs. Like, I haven't made that mind mental connection. So I think a lot of times when I'm supposed to be engaging that lower ab, and I learned this from my PT, which is why my sciatica flares, is because my back is taking on extra work that it shouldn't be. I think I then depend like on my really strong legs. But and again, work in progress, little things. I can't take on the world in one day. So some things just gotta go. Like, I may not be engaging the abs, guys. Sorry. Like, and then sometimes I'll joke too. And I'm like, anybody has time to check that out when I've got my grandma used to always say, she's like, you have the hourglass figure. It's so perfect. And I would hate it, right? I just wanted to be the stick figure and skinny, and I developed early. And so now when I look at myself, like, I love my curves, right? I love the shape of my body. And so I'm so excited because I was like, I get it now, Grandma. She would be like, your body is like a Marilyn Monroe. And I was like, oh, stop it, Grandma. Like, right? Like, no way. Like, stop. I just didn't see it. And I told the lady in the gym, and she was like, when I told her that story, she's like, yeah, I struggled. I used to be on the opposite side. I was way too skinny, and that's hard too. And I was like, oh no, I can imagine that's a hard problem to have as well. And we started talking, and she was like, yeah, I have these things. And I said, I always tell my kids this. I said, I actually told my son this right before I left to the gym. I wish that you could just one time see yourself through my eyes. And I told this lady, I said, so I say that to you. I wish you could see how perfect you are through my eyes, like how wonderful you look. And she got so happy. Like, she was just so delighted. And she's like, you too. And I was like, no, I see it now. I was like, that's the beauty of coming from where I was. Yes, there are days that, again, I'll be like, oh dang, like there's a little bit on the bloaty side, and then I'm like, listen, this is nothing. If that girl on that day could come and see you now, like had like a mental vision into the future, into her crystal ball, and you looked back at her, she would be like, this is some kind of filter. What is going on? This isn't me. And even still, it's beyond the physical, because it's the inside transformation. I would forego the outside to feel the way I feel now. Like, I would give it all away. If I had to choose between the two, I would take on being that 300-pound woman again in order to maintain how I feel on the inside. The transformation, the growth, the healing, the vulnerability, the honesty, there is nothing like that. Nothing. No compliment, on my exterior thing, no way I look in a photo, nothing. It's about being healthy, and the health that I feel is most important is the health that starts from the inside. And the two work really hand in hand. And another thing at the gym, here was another good thing. Today I was thinking about I was just thinking about things, and one of my friends, I won't say her name, but she popped in my mind. And I was like, I really like her. You know what I like about her? And I started thinking about the things I liked about her. I was like, I really like her giggle. Like, she has this cute, very innocent giggle, and she has a very soft spoken voice. And she's always like, she tries really hard, and she's really giggly, and she's just a very nice person. I really liked her when I knew I liked her. But then one day I saw her. We both got there early, and she went over to the weights before I did. I was putting my stuff down in the spot I would go to, and she went to grab her weights. But she didn't only grab her weights. She also grabbed Javier's weights, and she wiped them and she cleaned them and she put them over there on the stage for him. And I was like, that's a person I like, right? It's not always about her. He may never know what she did, but I like that. I love that. And many times I would see her do it, and many times somebody else will do it too. But something about her doing it, I just was like, yeah, I knew. I know there's something special about you. And so today, when I was there, I was like, I want you to know today you popped in my mind, and I was thinking about, and I told her all that, except for I didn't get to the part about the Javier, but I'll remind her next time. I was like at some point too, I was like, does it sound like I have a crush on her or something like that? I was like, no, but I was like, I just want you to know, like, I love you, popped in my mind. I really like your giggle. I really like your soft spoken. Like, you're a really wonderful person. Like, I really admire that about you. And she was like, oh my gosh, like, you made my day. That, like, that's so sweet. And was going on about that, and, talking about other things. And, then she, of course, was like, oh, said something. I'm like, whatever, I don't need any, I wasn't doing it for me. I just wanted to tell you, like, to tell you these things. But it's so fun to have your brain filled with kindness and your brain filled with nice things, and to share them with other people. Because I think just like that gentleman did, and I want to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. I want to believe that he was really trying to help her, right? The execution may not have been there, and again, I'm not going to be judgmental, but I'm just saying in general, less criticism, more, less complaining, more like give some feedback, like give me something to work with, right? I'm already tired, and I've exhausted every option I can physically think of right now. I'm doing everything I can and some. Like, if you have some words of advice, give it to me. Like, but I get it, right? Like, I wouldn't stand in this line for my own business. Like, if this was somebody else's, I wouldn't do it. She says herself. So, I say all that to say, right? Like, I don't think he meant malice, but sometimes we do, inevitably, right? It's not the intent, but the execution of it is, or how it is received, because, right, it's through our perspective of, what are we in? We're already exhausted. We're already realizing these things. And especially somebody like her artistry is beautiful. Her cakes, her croissant, they're works of art. They're not only delicious, but they're aesthetically pleasing to the eye. And so, she has an attention for detail. She wants to thrive, and she wants it to be perfect. We all do. But that's the problem, right? If I sit here and want to compare myself to other, personal development, content creators who are, infamous, and who are out there giving keynote speeches and all these things and TED Talks, and they already have their books published and they have a whole team behind them. That's not fair to me, right? I'm not there yet. But if I want to be there, I will get there. It's just going to take time. My weight loss journey has taken a couple years, and this journey may take a couple years. And there's going to be days I fall down, and there's going to be people that are like, I do not like your sweaty curly hair. Like, it grosses me out. Like, cool. Move on. And that's what she said too. Like, if you don't want to stand in line, I'm not forcing you to stand in my line. If you don't like me, change the channel. Like, there are so many other people out there. I'm sure you'll find somebody you love and connect with and adore. Why are you wasting your time, your precious time? One of your, some of the few hours of your, hopefully at very minimum, 40,000 days of your life, spending part of it with me if you don't like me, like, I say all that to say, like, I want to be an inspiration. I want to remind people that this is possible. Your dreams are possible. We can be Patisserie by Simone however we do. If you're an artist, if you're a author, if you're a athlete, if you're a gamer, if you're a investment banker, like, whatever it is we want, those options are available to us, and we just have to make these choices. And so, like, I want you to be able to go back, and I want to be able to go back. And, I didn't take a lot of pictures before when I was that size, because I was embarrassed and ashamed, and I felt guilty and grief and embarrassment. Because I wasn't perfect, and I wanted to be this perfect person. But I have abolished that idea. Like, I am not going to be perfect. Like, there's going to be frizzy hair and no makeup, because this is real and raw. I want to be able to do this every day. And if I spend an hour doing my hair and my makeup, that is an hour less that I'm learning how to produce the content onto the world, how to get it out there. And that's an hour less that I get to spend with my kids. And that's an hour less that I get to work on the plethora of other projects and, other things that I do and don't necessarily want to work on, but I get to work on because I'm alive, right? I woke up today. But on the same turn, and sometimes I just need to relax. Like, sometimes I just need to sit down and read a book. And if I'm sitting here focusing my effort, again, this isn't a beauty and, I've seen some of these YouTubes out there. These women do amazing. I mean, I have seen some of these transformations. I was like, ain't no way. Ain't no way I'm going to watch this whole video, because there is no way she went from this to this. Like, good on you, girl. Like, again, please come teach me. I am still using the same makeup techniques as I was in 1992. So, I probably need to up my game. This is what I know. My daughter can do fabulous makeup. She can watch these YouTubes and do her hair stunning always, like the curls. I'm like, how do you do this? I could watch it. I try to execute it, fail. Because I just don't have the passion for it, right? Like, I'd love to look like that if somebody just came and curled my hair. Like, it's super easy because it's naturally curly, so it's going to curl for you. But I just don't have it's like the technology, the passion for it isn't there. And I'm willing to sacrifice the things I'm not passionate about, so I have more time to focus on the stuff I am passionate about, the things that I love doing, like talking here with you. And so, again, this is going to change. I'm twirling with the idea of trying to go 30 minutes or 45 minutes or, some days, maybe longer or not, because I really want to reach you. And I really want to do my best to be able to use that time. Not that I'm going to be like, okay, now I did my half hour. Like, I want to use that time to be able to be like, okay, they're saying I need to do SEO. I don't know what this SEO is. And I need to find, keywords and hashtags and thumbnails or tags or whatever. Again, don't know. I am going to learn, and you are going to be here with a front row seat of somebody who is learning, who's falling down on her face, and who's saying, I am not perfect. But if you have any advice, if you have any constructive criticism, please share it with me, because I want to learn as much as I want to learn. But I don't really actually. I mean, I do. I want to learn. Like, give me the Cliff Note version. Like, I'm trying on my own to learn and read, and I want to be better. But again, it's not my passion to do search engine optimization and hashtag creation and, figuring out algorithms. Again, that is somebody else's passion. This is not Natasha's. I just want to do the work I want to do. I want to be in places where I'm in front of you. I'd love to go to schools or, book clubs or whatever it is, and be able to say, here is my story. Like, I want to share and I want to inspire, and especially even kids. Like, I feel like there's even my own kids, sometimes you hear it and they're just so conditioned by the schools and the environments to just, go to college, go do the things. And a lot of times I've been guilty, so I'm keeping an open mind as to what is going to happen with my son. He keeps getting acceptances, and it's so funny. It's like, don't care, you're getting these acceptances and into these, some people's dream schools, and you're like, whatever. Like, it has no excitement for him whatsoever at this point. And so, I think it's just interesting. And I think it's again, the product of, he's now heard so many times what I have taught him throughout his whole life, but now he's seeing in real time, and they're like, wait, mom was right. Like, mom wasn't just blowing smoke up our booties, right? Like, mom knows what she's talking about. Like, what she says is working. And so if it works for her, it could work for me. And why not? So the only thing that is in our own ways is ourself. And so again, I'm going to shout out Patisserie by Simone in Livermore, because she is vulnerable enough to share her dream and some amazing pastries. But that's a side thing. Again, I say, you have a fan in me because you are real, girl. Like, you keep it real, and I love that. I love that about you, and I hope you may never change. Like, I hope that, when there are franchises all over the world, if this is what you dream for, that I could say I knew her when. Like, and I will be ordering your pastries for my whole staff, okay? Like, deal. But I then had to tell her, so before I finish off, the last thing I said to her in the message was, I want you to know, like, when I am standing there in line, it is about supporting a small business. It is about watching somebody's dream who we often, put on the back burner. We don't do. A lot of us just let slip away, watching that dream come true and watching you navigate it. It's about giving, buying treats and then sharing them with my friends and watching the pleasure, or family, and watching the pleasure on their face as they consume it. Like, it is about standing there and smelling, the goodies come out the door, and watching the faces of the people as they walk out there with their little white boxes and their bags, and seeing the smiles on their face. It is, for me, a reminder of, I am walking into somebody's dream. I am standing in the line of somebody's dream. And it is making me feel very inspired. It is making me feel very motivated to double down on my own dreams and have lines out the door for my stuff, right? Like my visions, my creations as well. And to create this like super community of people who are just supporting one another's dreams, big or small. Like, your dream could be to walk a mile. And if that's your dream, there is no shade. Like, that is a great dream. That is incredible. I am here to root you on and cheer you on. Like, I will be at the finish line with you, like shaking and grooving. Because I know for me, at one point, my goal was to walk up, I can't even call it a hill, but I will call it a hill, by my house and not be out of breath. That took a while. And, or to have, like, my calves were burning, my quads were like, it is a process of progress. And so thank you so much here. Like, my words are getting all flustered up. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for supporting my dream. And thank you so much for allowing me to be just a teeny tiny part and a reminder of your dream. And I can't wait to hear about what your dreams are and what you're doing to fulfill those things and fill yourself up, and then overfloweth onto other people. So be that change, do the kind things, and I'm going to let you know, you can do me one favor. Go out there, give somebody a smile, give them a compliment, and just watch how they glow up. Mwah. Thank you. Bye.